Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is our email address. I'm Kevin, joined by Gordon on this Friday. If you didn't get a chance to listen to our interview with Carson Warholm yesterday, Link and I chatted to the two-time world champion for about a half hour yesterday. You might want to check that out. But we have no world champions today. It's just me and Gordon.
Hey man,
World
I
champion is
think
something.
my Minesweeper personal record is a world record. I don't know. I'm really good at Minesweeper. Have you ever done like one of those like computer games that like Chips Challenge or Minesweeper stuff?
No, I was not big
I
into
got
computer games.
I got really good at it. They're like the Windows 95 computer games, not the ones that are like PlayStation, all that stuff. I'm talking about the ones that come pre-installed on your laptop or your desktop.
Mm.
Man, I was very good at Chips Challenge and was very good at Minesweeper.
There was a
Those days.
point in the interview yesterday. I don't know if you've listened to it yet. You probably haven't
I have
because
not
you've been
yet.
in Eagles fandom. But there was a part that you'd really like. And I'm being serious here because we asked, well, did you ever think of not competing? And he said in 2020, because of the pandemic and because just a lot of other people weren't racing and it's not the Olympic year. And he broke it down, and Lincoln put this clip up on the site, basically saying an average, if you're a good career, if you get it, is 10 years long. Why would I waste 10% of my career not competing? And I was like, actually, Gordon's run some numbers here, and you have a good point, Mr. Carson Warholm.
Yeah, the average career is only 4 years, but you know maybe it's different
But for him,
for him. I mean, the average like the worst and the best, it averages out to 4 years. So 10 years is on the end of like a Centro, Leo, Carson Warholm type career. And then you have the 1 year careers like Shaquille Walker. Remember him? He was like good for like a year and then gone. So it's just crazy how that works.
Yeah, retired, became a dentist. But like,
yeah,
10 years makes sense from the perspective of you usually, if you're a great, you have 2 Olympics. And then getting to that 3rd Olympics is really pushing it. That's where you really separate yourself. That's why Bolt is who Bolt is. And if you're really, really special, then you go even beyond that. And then there's people who are just kind of timeless and able to stick around and stay in the equation. But I like that answer. I mean, it jived with what we thought this year. Hey, why wait? I could take these shots at all these world records. So anyway, interesting interview. I think you'd like it. People could check it out. Enjoyed talking to him. He also had a cool piece of art behind him that fit in really well with his persona, which made me laugh the first time he logged on, and we saw a giant sheep behind him. It's interesting. But it looked sort of like a ferocious sheep, if that makes sense.
we have some college news.
Oh,
don't we touch that?
well, hold on. Before we do that, let me ask you. Let me ask you the question, everybody's favorite question when it comes to you talking about news. Are you reporting this?
Well, yeah, it's out there. News hit in the past 24 hours. I texted you guys this news. You guys didn't respond. So
we're talking about UMKC. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, UMKC. Well, that's one of them. They're starting to become more COVID-related track and field deaths, you could say. That's maybe in poor taste, but you know what I'm trying to say. Cuts.
Yeah, cuts.
Yeah. So Courtney Ferricks tweeted out how she was disappointed, and kind of reminded me of, Ben Blankenship's exact same tweet. Like, how can you do this to me? But UMKC, University of Missouri, Kansas City, which I guess is in Kansas City, but which is in Missouri. Yeah. Kansas. Yeah. What's the one that's in? Oh yeah, Kansas City. It's not in Kansas. It's in Missouri. That's the thing. All right, sorry. Lincoln would be shooting his head right now. Me talking about Missouri location, not knowing that.
Lincoln should be here, but I believe there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and a Kansas City, Missouri. But this would be in Missouri. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Continue.
But they are cutting it indefinitely due to COVID. So they're not like ending the program. They're just like, we have the COVID excuse. We're just not going to do that sport for a while. It's like, what? Like, they didn't like have like an official like board of regents, like we're officially ending the program or anything like that. It was just like, we're not doing it. And due to COVID. And now colleges are allowed to do that because low key in the small print of the latest like NCAA announcement when they announced, I think it's when they announced the locations of NCAA championships, they said the minimum number of sponsored sports that schools need does not need to be hit during the COVID era. So UMKC is one of the first to be like, all right, we're not doing track, right? I believe South Dakota State maybe it also is doing the same thing. I could be wrong. They tweeted out like save our sport. I don't know. But yeah, it's man, track isn't done, right? They still got to hold on through this crazy time to try to survive through what's going to be a long winter, a long spring, a long summer.
And they don't have football at UMKC. This is not a situation where, oh, we lost football revenue, ergo we need to cut track and cross country. But they are blaming it. I saw the release. They are blaming it on budget constraints due to COVID. So I could only deduce from that they're talking about enrollment being down, tuition being down. So overall money into the school is lower than expected, and then they have to scrap the program. Is there another explanation for it that I'm missing?
Hey, I think COVID is just the way for all these athletic departments to start have their come to Jesus moment about, hey, athletic budgets are upside down and that it's time to fix it, right? It's crazy. Sports used to be like a club thing where it was just like it was looked at as only an expense that wasn't looked at as like anything else. But then once NCAA gets involved and there's money involved, it becomes a business, and then now we're in this situation, you know. Anyway, so I wanted to bring that up. There's other news too. Do you want to hear the other news?
Yeah, you're driving the train here. Keep going.
Yeah, Nebraska, they had like a shit ton of COVID cases on their track team. Did you see that?
Okay, not good. Yes, I just saw that they are. Was it double digits? I believe.
Yeah, 25% of their team. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and Big Ten's is next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Or is it this next weekend? I'm losing track of time.
Big Tens. What do you mean Big Tens? There's no Big Ten champs.
Sorry. I went to Big 12, and they used to be in the Big 12. Obviously, that's wrong. Incorrect. Scrap that from the record.
It happens.
My apologies.
So, but that's the first time we were hearing of a COVID-related outbreak in track and field. It's kind of interesting. I don't know what to take from it. I mean, the kids are going to be fine. Let's just be honest. They're just going to have their asymptomatic case and then move on. I mean, so far, like, since college opened in August or September, of all the cases, there hasn't been an influx of like bad cases, right? Like the way hospitalizations or stuff like that, right? We haven't really heard any, like, and even anecdotally, right? It hasn't even been like anecdotal of like this one kid from a Division III JUCO NAIA school who, you know, is an international student from whatever. So that's the good news, at least, that when it does spread to young kids, COVID doesn't really have a chance. They're just kind of like, they're there for the party and then they leave. My other thing, this is what? Sorry, what did you say?
Well, I just was going to say I wished colleges and universities, schools in general, were a little more transparent about their reporting. Some schools are doing a good job releasing numbers, and we see this with football, and then some of them are just like not saying anything at all. And I think when we get to the next season where more sports are competing, I think they need to get more in the habit of being upfront and transparent about that, just so the public is aware. I think that's where we're headed anyway, and I think if they want to drag their feet on it, they're going to end up getting to that spot. But that's all I have to say about it.
This is the bigger news of all the news that I have. It's a light Friday. I'll admit it. We're kind of, you guys had such a great podcast with Warholm. I'm trying to follow up that. It's not that easy. But the America East Conference, which is New Hampshire, Vermont, a bunch of other schools up there in the Northeast. They officially have canceled their indoor championships, but have officially scheduled their cross country championships. So they're going to have cross country
Yeah.
championships in March, I think March 5th, but their indoor championships cut, done. Now they didn't say that they can't compete at indoors. I think they all said like, track teams can still do whatever they want to do, whatever they need to do,
Yeah.
but they're not going to hold an indoor conference championship. And basically, I'm sure America East was like, all right, what's our winter plan? How are we going to handle this? What are we doing here, there? Oh, wait, we got to put like 30 people, like 50 people from 10 different teams in a building over a 2-day period. Yeah, we're not doing that. Right. So let's just cancel it. So, and I think they kind of feel better about canceling. Be like, hey, we're adding cross country though, so it's not the end of the world, right? There's runners still get to run, but that could be the start of another wave of cancellations in now indoor track. We haven't really been talking about indoor. We've been talking, I was compiling all the teams that aren't competing in cross country, and it was just happening slowly over like a 3-week period. It started with, with the Ivy League, and then it ended with NAU coming back, but
for one night only.
For one night only. But yeah, what are your thoughts on? Again, it's not a Power 5 conference, but it is a Division I conference. A Division I conference officially canceling indoor track and field.
I think it makes sense when you learn that Lincoln Shrike is on the board of directors of the America East Conference. Then that explains it. There's nobody pulling hard for winter cross country in lieu of indoor than Lincoln. He's staked out that ground. I like it. I appreciate it. I think it's a precursor of what's to come. I like that they did the two at once though. So they're saying we're taking something away, but we're also confirming something as well. I think it's going to be very hard to do indoor. We've talked about this before, not just the staging of the championships, but all the steps that lead up to the championships. Indoor is great, but I think people see indoor as bonus. And if they don't see indoor as bonus right now, then they probably should reevaluate and understand the circumstances that we're in and see that it is a bonus. I like cross country in March. I like cross country in March. I think the three of us are all in agreement on that we want to see cross country in March, maybe for different reasons. But I think we're all the three of us that do the show. I think all understand that given the constraints that are out there, but also given the way the sport and the regular season works, it's just more compatible. It makes a lot more sense to have cross than indoors. Or am I mischaracterizing your position there?
My position, I want both.
Well, sure, you want that doubleheader, and I get it.
Yeah, but I want the strategy. I want the strategy of what Arkansas is going to do and stuff like that. Anyway, if I had to choose, I would choose cross. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. No, I want both. I want both. So I hope this isn't a precursor. I think even if we get it, as we said before, I'm probably repeating myself here, but maybe we have new listeners. If we do get indoors, it's not going to resemble a normal indoor season. Cross country is going to be weird because it's going to be set in a different month of the year. The regular season leading up to it is going to be different, but cross country, if everything goes to plan, is going to have one meet where there's 31 teams on the start line to decide the national champion for men and for women, right? And that's pretty much all you need to have a cross country season. Now, someone might quibble with the 29th team that got there versus the 27th team, but the big players will be there. I don't think we can say the same thing confidently about indoor track, given how complicated that qualifying process is and how difficult it's going to be to stage that meet. So given the choice, I would take cross country because I think it better resembles the season. I would love to have both, and I think we'd take indoor with a grain of salt as this fun sort of thing, and you'd get excited, and we get excited about all your spreadsheets and all the color coding and the point permutations based on what Arkansas does, and NAU and Stanford and BYU and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to convince every coach I talk to. Hey, tank cross country and do a rope-a-dope and go all in on indoor and qualify your 14:10 5K runner to indoor because no one else wants to do it, and then rack up the points. But it. So one thing I'm thinking is like, so America East is trying to get out ahead of it, and they'll be like, "Hey, we're canceled. We're trying to get out ahead of it. We're worried about having to stage some championship, right?" But here's the thing, like, that's what everyone was doing in arguably probably a worser situation, which was more unknown situation, which was July, right? We're like, all right, we got to get out of it. We're canceling football. We got to get out of it. We got to get out. We're trying to get out of everything, right? But there were a few that held pat, SEC, Big 12, ACC, and then a few that were like, oh, we're back. Like literally almost every college football program is competing in the fall except for like two. So I think the fact that we have made it through a football season, I think SEC is going to finish. Big Ten's going to be screwed because they have no like.
Well, they're just starting. I don't think we've made it through yet. I think we've had some games, but I don't think. I mean, we're only in. Well, how many weeks is this for SEC? Just a couple, right?
Yeah, but Clemson's played what, like 6 games already?
Well, yeah, ACC started. ACC.
Yeah.
Well, they played
what
a
I'm saying is
header,
like,
which I thought was ambitious. Just kidding.
I just think that like the amount of like, I mean, even NFL, like they had a couple cancellations, but like NFL, like I'm not going to like when baseball happened, when the Marlins had the whole outbreak, everyone was like, it's over. They're not going to be able to do it. We're in the World Series right now, right? Like literally, there was a time when everyone was like, cancel the season, and we are now about to crown a World Series champion this week. So
right, but that's because they wanted to
out.
make a whole bunch of money, and that's the
yeah.
difference
SEC
here.
and SEC wants to make a whole bunch of money, right? So I think, and the NFL does. I think though that like MLB was able to do it with no tragedy. I think the SEC and NFL are doing it with no tragedies, or even near tragedies, or what have you. But what I'm trying to say is that when we go into the winter season, what argument will administrate like? There's gonna like sure there's gonna be people like Ivy League, they're like, we're canceling, whatever, we don't care about it no matter what. But like, the coaches and like the administration and the staffs are gonna be like, well, we just got through football. We can keep going. Like we had a few bumps in the road, but that's all they were. They were just bumps. Let's keep going. And that's why I think that like indoor track will like still happen in like SEC, Big 12 world, ACC world.
Right.
Because they were the ones who are willing to take all the bullets when they try to still do football, and they survived, or I think they're going to survive. So I feel like they have no reason to be concerned, if that makes sense, because they took the public pressure. They had public pressure to not do it. They still did it anyway, and then they're actually executing the testing. I mean, rapid testing is even more. I mean, I got a rapid test in 1 minute. It took like, not 1 minute, but like took 15 minutes for the result. But like I just drove into a place, no line, and made a schedule, boom, done, $20, done. Right. So
I just think it depends I think it depends on two things. One, the state of the pandemic when we get closer to indoor season, just nationwide, and also in these specific communities that are going to be hosting these meets. And two, it's a cost benefit analysis. You risk it for football, you risk it for basketball, because if you don't, you're out a bunch of money. If they cancel indoor track, who's losing money? I hate to put it in those terms, but that's the reality of it. So why like you're just way more likely to go out on a limb and put a season together for football and basketball than you would be for any other sport at the college level.
Well, then why is the SEC doing cross country right now? Why did SEC be like, we're canceling all sports except for football?
I think they looked at those specific sports and made like recommendations and guidelines and felt confident that you could execute them. And also, I don't think they wanted the additional public backlash that would go with, oh, we're only doing football. But when it comes time to the winter and a new season, I mean, I guess you could say, well, the same thing about basketball, but there's just a different risk when we go indoors.
Could you argue that indoor track and field is the worst sport for spreading the coronavirus?
Yes, 100%.
Like even worse than
especially
wrestling, because wrestling you only have like 2 people in the building at a time, right? Or like,
Mhm.
but you could make it so there's only like a very few amount of people in the building. Whereas track, you
Yeah.
can't do that.
Right. Think about all the close quarters and large groups of people indoor. I'm just thinking. Think about when we were in Albuquerque in March for indoor championships. That's a big space. Albuquerque Convention Center is a cavernous venue, and there weren't even all the teams there, but you were still like bumping into one person and then going into another person over here. Yeah, it's just you're right. You're right about the fall, and they didn't just leave it with football. But I think that was more just because to show solidarity and not put football out on a limb. I think that calculus though might change when we get to the winter and you get sports that are more indoor based. And honestly, they'd rather, if given the choice, they'd rather cancel basketball than football. Basketball is a small percentage.
Well, they're definitely
not. I know they're not going
not
to, but I'm saying
NCAA,
if
though.
they did. Well, no, I'm saying,
Yeah.
just say we have a repeat of the lead up to football, just hypothetically. That happens again in the lead up to basketball. I think they'd be more likely to cancel basketball because you don't hear the argument that much. Well, if we don't have basketball, we have to shut down our whole athletic department. But you heard that for football. True. That's what I'm saying is the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if there's, I hope there's not an avalanche. There might be an avalanche. I mean, now if there's no conference championship, right? Mm-hmm. Is that going to be like an advantage? I mean, again, I'm still assuming we're still having NCAAs, right? But would that be an advantage for like qualification purposes? It's like, hey, a week out from, and because that was the whole thing. Like it was like 6 years ago, there used to be like a qualification weekend after conferences. You had conferences, and you had the last chance weekend, and then NCAAs. That's where everyone did their DMRs, their last minute time trials. We still get a little bit of that in like BU last chance for all the conferences that compete early, but if all these conferences cancel, you could look at it as like, hey, for the big people, like, hey, you don't have to run your mile for your rinky-dink conference anymore. You can go out there and time trial to try to qualify.
Yeah. I don't see any way where this is a normal indoor season. Even if the virus disappeared tomorrow, there's still the budget impact that's being felt. So the travel budgets would be limited, and not many people would be traveling across the country to Seattle or to Boston. And if the virus does persist, then obviously you're going to have regulations on how many people can be in meets or regulations on how many people can travel. But there's no scenario in which indoor 2021 looks like a normal indoor season. And hopefully they can still do it. I'm just preparing people for that reality. And again, to talk about what's over your left shoulder, not let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yes. That is over my left shoulder.
There it is. And it's fine. Like we can do it, but I think that the time and energy should just be devoted to like, hey, let's figure out how to make it work. And some school, some conference, some event group is going to get the short end of the stick. It's just inevitable. But you kind of come up with the best case scenario, right? Like, well, baseball's different because of all the labor negotiations, but it's not like NBA was like, oh yeah, we want to be able to come back and only have a portion of our schedule, and we're going to play 8-game regular season, and then we're going to pipe in crowd noise. And they didn't want that. They had to make some sort of sacrifices, and some teams definitely complained. Some teams like the San Antonio Spurs, 5-time NBA champions, did get the short end of the stick. But do you hear their fans complaining about how they were deprived of the 8th seed because of the unfair scheduling? No, you don't hear that. We take it on the chin and we keep moving forward. So the same is true here. We need to be all in on just coming up with the best solution. And worst case scenario, cross country and then outdoors. Boom. I think those can happen. And if you told me that a couple months ago, I'd been like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I do think there were some I did talk to one coach who said that like, hey, like, I think what they want to do is it's all about an optic thing. I think these like coaches are going to try to put on like dual meets, tri meets, and if they don't, if the administrations and like the conference commissioners don't hear anyone like here, we had track meet and now everyone's got COVID. The more and more administrators don't hear that or see that email, the less likely administrators are going to try to be proactive about trying to cancel an indoor track championship. Like, I think it's not on their mind. And I think that if the indoor season starts in January and things are just normal, like, oh yeah, track's happening. Yep. The track's happening. You basically are kind of hoping that there's kind of negligence in the administrations and the commissioners of like, because how many conference commissioners know how an indoor track meet is run? Like, how many have even been to one where they can visualize, wait, what happens in the armory we're about to do everywhere? Like, we should not be doing that, right? I don't think any commissioner like understands it. So I think a lot of track coaches are just going to be like, let's just hope they don't recognize that probably we shouldn't be doing indoor track. But if we can just be quiet and never have any big outbreaks, we'll just do it and everything will be fine. I mean, because like, let's be honest, like when we were there in Albuquerque, it got canceled. What, like 24 hours? If we would have had that meet, would it like the odds of us having that meet in Albuquerque? How devastating would it have been? Like, would you and me like? I don't know. Like, odds are most likely everyone in that room probably would have stayed the same if we just like, hey, let's just get it over with and then go, right? It's like, we only got 24 hours. We're already here. We're already breathing on each other. We can't breathe more on each other, right? It's not. So, but I don't know. I think coaches are kind of hoping that they can sneakily sneakily have one.
And maybe they do that, but it's tough to sneakily hold an indoor meet where you're like, all right, we got 90 heats of the 5,000. We're bringing in teams from all over. If it was a dual meet or a tri meet, that'd be one thing, but that's just not how indoor's set up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what makes it tricky. I think a lot of it just depends on what's the status with the schools by then too. University, like, are they 50% online? Are they 75% online? Are they able to get kids back into the classrooms? One more story I want to touch on before we do a couple emails. There was an Ekiden in the United States a couple days ago. People don't know Ekidens. They're road races popular in Japan with a relay component. And they did one in the United States, as I mentioned, in Michigan, sponsored by the Hanson's Brooks Group, and it featured NAZ Elite, Hanson's Brooks, and a couple other teams. All totaled, there were 7 teams on the entry list. There were supposed to be 8, but Bowerman Track Club was a late scratch, and Hoka NAZ Elite gets the dub. Their team. Go ahead.
Before we talk about the results, Fireman late scratch. Maybe this is conspiracy theory, but I don't think they were ever planning on running. I think their COVID excuse was planned, that they didn't want to run. The odds of Jerry committing to like go to Michigan for meet racing against Hoka, NAZ Elite, and Roots Running and all these guys, it's not in his DNA to like do these types of events. And I think people rightly were surprised when he said, yeah, we're doing it. And I think people rightly were like, okay, that makes sense. You're not doing it. I don't know. I know like it's wrong to like just assume someone had entered a meet in bad faith, but hey, you're thinking it. Everyone's thinking it. And because you're thinking it, there's a reason you're thinking it. You're thinking it because you have years of experience of watching, Bowerman like do like whatever, go beat by their own drum and just not compete in whatever they don't want to compete in, right? And run 3 races and then they're at Worlds or whatever. But I think maybe someone's cousin's sister got COVID and they said like, hey, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon separation. We can't compete. We're out. That's what I think it was.
I will admit, when I saw them on the start list, I thought, is this a typo? Because it would be so weird. They never race. They never race. And to enter a relay race in Michigan against with no prize money against some teams there that are far below their level would have been interesting. Now, they are running, is Mariel Hall and Emily Enfeld are planning on running out there. They're putting on a half marathon, I know. But that I could see makes sense. They haven't had a racing opportunity, get out there and do it. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's kind of a 180 from what we expect from Schumacher. In any event, NAZ Elite 1, Tyler Day, Lauren Paquette, Rory Linkletter, Kellen Taylor, Scott Fauble, and Danielle Shanahan. Tyler Day, that's his first race as a pro. What did you think of his performance? He won the opening leg.
What do you run, like sub 29 something? Like 28 high?
28:46.
What do you think Tyler Day's trajectory is going to be? Like what?
Who's his comp?
Yeah. He was on fire last year.
Is he like Hassan Mead?
Okay, I can see that.
That'd be a good career. He's made a lot of teams.
Do you think he will? What place do you think he'll finish in the 10K at the trials in 2021?
I feel like he's going to be like 7th or 8th. I don't know why.
7th.
It just feels like a 7th or 8th guy. I think. Could he be Ben True? So Mead and True would be a step up from where he is, and those guys aren't out there winning diamond leagues every weekend, but they've had really successful careers. I don't know why he couldn't be one of those. Or does he go to the roads? Right? Does he go to the marathon and does he become like a Jared Ward? That would be another path.
Yeah. I don't think he wants to do roads. I think he wants to dabble in the 10 and 5. I think he might finish 4th at the trials.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at the history of people who finish 4th and like 5th at the trials and 10K, he's in that category. It's weird. There's like the cutoff for the 10K, especially on the men's sides, is very like there's the 3, and then like there's just like a clear. You never have like a close battle between 3 and 4 the way you do in like a 1500 or even 5K. But I think he's good, and I think he's gonna get 4th. Because it reminds me of when Chris Derrick. Did Chris Derrick get 4th or 5th at the trials?
I thought he
did.
Like
when he was like his like junior year or senior year, right? His first year as a pro.
Mm-hmm. So who's on your team? Are you putting Career on the team, Shadrach Kipchirchir, and
Lopez?
If True going to run the 10K? Oh, Lopez, yeah. Mead, I think 4th would be a huge run for him. I think 4th would be. I would put it in the range of possibilities, but anywhere between 4th and 12th. So that's why I'll settle on.
No, I think he's good. I think he's going to be a gamer, and I think he'll finish between 4th and 6th. I don't think he's going to show up and be a 12th place guy. Like, hey, I qualified. The only way that will happen is if he's not healthy. Because
that's the bad end. But I think the absolute best end would be 4th because that's not an easy team. That's not an easy team. And I think, don't you think somebody else from Bowerman is going to run that besides Lopez? Would Fisher move up maybe and try to just give himself another shot? Or that's a stretch for McGourty.
What's first? Is 10K first? Is 10K first?
No, 5K is first for the men, I think.
Ooh. If it is?
Let me double check that. You and Lincoln are laughing.
You got to double check that. Because if 5K is first, then everyone is doing the 10K who doesn't finish top 3.
Keep talking for a second, and I will get this for you.
I always think the 10K is only first.
It normally is, but they switched it around. Yeah, men's 5,000 is first.
Oh, wow. Okay. So here's the thing: would Tyler Day not run the 5K to try to be fresh to have a little bit of an advantage over a few people?
Yeah. Well, who's on
Would
your
anyone
5K
do
team?
that? Cholimo.
Cholimo.
I mean, I don't know who's on
Lamong?
my 5K team. I don't want to. Yeah,
Kincaid?
I mean, it just seems so crazy that Lamong is going to make both Olympic make the double at like his age and time. It's just like,
I love it.
I mean, he was dominant last in 2019, so it makes sense. But like, part of you just thinks there's got to be like a little bit of a regression, like, and that he only makes one of them. I kind of only want him to make one of them, so then there's another person out there who gets to make a team. You know, it's kind of boring when like a bunch of people take
You're saying
doubles and.
You're saying it's gonna be like Legat in 16 doesn't make the 10K and then comes back at the end of the meet and makes the 5K, or vice versa. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
He'll get one, not the other.
I kind of hope. I hope Lopez gets like fourth in the 5K. That's what I want him to get, and then he goes on and like wins the 10K. That's what I want to happen. Because that'll be like a cool like boom. Yeah,
You like that story?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to commit to my 5K team yet.
You don't have to commit. I'm just saying who you're thinking. So obviously, BTC's got Lamong, McGourty, Fisher, Ryan Hill, all ran 13:15 or faster.
And Woody. Kincaid.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about this year. Yeah. So throw Woody Kincaid in there. Then ADP has, Cholimo, Kipchirchir. Career might run it as well, too. Then you have people
Career's
like,
yeah.
Is Arasa's an ADP, right?
I don't know. I think he might be done. I'm not sure if he's still there.
Okay. Well, he was under 13:20 last year. Then you have Ben True. Then you have Drew Hunter.
Yeah.
Who made the team, right? We forget he made the team in 19, but had to pull out with an injury. And then
like
Mead. Yeah. And then the new guys like Klecker and Day. That seems to be the list. I might be missing somebody from that group.
Someone, and they're going to find out, and they're going to come and get you.
They're going to put it on the bulletin board here. Riley Masters ran 13:16 in 2018. He was third in the U.S. But yeah, I think Cholimo goes in as the big favorite, and then it's a mad dash for the last two spots in the 5,000. Yeah. That's how I would characterize.
I mean, Eric Jenkins is kind of looking better now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Can't forget about him. I don't know.
You need to start your rankings. Can you start your rankings now for track season?
I've done
US?
What the rankings I did. What's the difference between the rankings I've done like in the past 18 months? Nothing has happened in 18 months for me to change rankings.
Yeah, they did. Grant
Let me look at my
ran
ranking.
Fast. Let me tell you why your rankings are wrong. Just kidding.
Okay, tell me why. Yeah, no. What's my? I did the video game player rankings. That was fun.
Okay, I know, but
individual US rankings.
Men's...
Okay.
Go.
So my last ranking update was January 14th, 2020.
Yeah, add a date. Refresh those. What do we got?
Yeah, but what? Who am I? Okay, let's look at my ranking. So nothing happened in the sprint events to really.
No, go to the 5K. Go to men's 5K.
Okay, 5K. This is what I had. Wait for it. Load. I had Lamong, Cholimo, Kincaid, True, Hunter, Mead, Hill, Jenkins. Masters, Fisher, Kipchirchir, Arasa, Fink, Bohr, Lelang, Thompson, Tassema, Tyler Day, Connor Winter, Kyle Mao. So Day would move.
So you don't
up,
have Sean. So you don't have Sean McGourty, a 13:11 guy, on there. That's just disrespectful to him. It's disrespectful to Stanford. It's disrespectful to Bowerman Track Club. Change your rankings immediately. Come on.
I probably have McGourty ranked in the. I think I have McGourty as a 1,500 meter guy now.
Okay, but he's going to run the 5. Don't we think he's going to run the 5?
I have McGourty ranked 16th in the 1,500. I have Yared Nagus ranked 15th in the 1,500. That's got to change. It's just hard to justify dropping people because it's like if you didn't run, I don't know.
Wait, tell me your top 5 again in the 5K.
Okay, this was written on January 14th, so before Little Indoor started.
I know.
It's only based off of basically 2019 outdoor season.
Okay.
Lamong, Chalimo, Kincaid, True, Hunter. I think that's the way it finished at
Lamong,
USA's.
Kincaid. Yeah, and that's not a bad five. But I think McGourty and
Yeah.
Fisher would be right there, and I think you'd bump Day up as well too, and if Eric Jenkins is healthy, you'd move him in there.
Yeah.
But 5K is first, so we'll see everybody entering that 10,000 at the end of the meet, which would be kind of exciting.
What's my 10K? 10K was Lamong, Chalimo, Kipchirchir, Corrier, True, Arasa, Connor McMillan, Reed Buchanan. Yeah, like I don't have Tyler Day 14th, so I'd have to move him up. But what was my marathon? How did I do on that one?
Did you nail it?
Marathon was Galen Rupp, nailed it. Who didn't see that coming? Corrier 2, Jared Ward 3, Scott Fauble 4. I mean, that's what everyone was thinking,
respect.
right?
Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, nobody
I had
had
Abdi.
no, but
I had Abdi 9th.
nobody had Abdi,
and I had Abdi 9th.
that's probably
and
higher
I had
than most people.
Jacob Riley 26th. Oops.
That one you just switched Jared Ward and Jake Riley because Jared Ward finished in the 20s.
Exactly.
And Riley got in the team. Yeah, that's not bad. I would have had Abdi probably lower than 9th. You probably gave him more of a chance than anybody else. So we have some emails here. I want to read this one real quick before we go. Kurt sent 2 of them. One's about the Ekidam we already talked about. He says he's talking about hosting cross-country championships. He said would like to see it go back to Rimrock Farms in Kansas. He says, I know they're not universities, but really love to see Van Cortlandt Park as well as Franklin Park in Massachusetts. He wants it to be in the Northeast. He says, Gordon is dead on. I don't know if Kurt is correct here with whatever he's saying next.
I like Kurt's thoughts. Kurt's a wise man.
Dead on with the rotating through all the regions. The mountain ones would be really hard for a lot of folks. On the talk of NAU being able to field more than one team the other day, I wonder if a possibility would be for some to qualify as one of the individual qualifiers out of regionals. Indoors, would like to see it go to the new Michigan indoor facility. Have not been there, but looks amazing. Ocean Breeze in Staten Island is really amazing as well. Armory is great, but just no space there at all. Outdoors, he thinks it needs to move around a bit. But how many want that? Icon Stadium in New York could do it for sure. I do love the track I run on, which is Princeton. They have big meets in the past. Washington would be big enough, I think, in Seattle. Have you been to that new outdoor facility in Washington, by the way, since they built it?
The purple track?
Yeah. I haven't been to it.
It's not really a stadium. It's just a track. Maybe there's another new purple track. I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if they actually built a stadium, because that would be a cool, like, I feel like between Washington and Portland, you could build a decent sized, good modern track, and then a track, get some outdoor competitions out there to go in tandem with whatever's going on at Hayward Field. Because the options in Portland, it goes from like Eugene, it goes from Hayward, and then it drops a bit to the next available facility out there in the Northwest.
It would be interesting if Portland or Adidas or any of the shoe companies out there decide to build like a really good state-of-the-art, like European style track facility. I mean, because we have like the Nike track in the woods, but that's not really spectator friendly. It's just cool for Instagram. But like it would be kind of cool to like build like this if Adidas built their own track stadium. It's like a local, like it's available for the public, but it's like nicer to have like high quality meets and stuff like that. And then like
maybe a
Portland could use it.
facility.
It could be like University of Portland's home track, but then also kind of used as like the Nike track that they show off on and do workouts on.
The University of Portland just got a track, right? Didn't they just get a track
Do they?
at UOP?
I don't know.
I feel like they were new track. Yeah, I think I remember reading it's coming in fall 2019, so it's there. Oh yeah, this looks nice. Yeah, it looks cool. But see, it's right on the water. It's got bleachers on one side, and then nothing on the other side. I think you could design it in a way where you're right. It's practical, but also you could leave options open to expand it. So that way you could have not massive meets there, but you could figure out a way to put temporary seating for 10, 15,000 people there, but it doesn't need to be like that all the time. And you could make it worthwhile because you have a lot of different options of how you create it, structure it.
Like, I feel like Portland should have an Armory type facility. They should
indoors.
have
So
yeah.
Yeah. So there was lots of rumors with the new Hayward being built about how they wanted to put like they were going to do an indoor track as well. And then there was talk about, okay, well, it wouldn't be in the new facility, but maybe they'll build it in another part of town, which always made sense to me because U of O does so well an indoor track. I guess if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think, hey, you guys are going to do even better if you actually can train on an indoor track, and you don't need that big of a space to house one. And as we know, University of New Mexico selling their indoor tracks. You could have one for a low price right now.
There you go.
It's
Altitude does not come with it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Get the conversion. All right, we'll leave it there. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for tuning in this week. Enjoyed bringing you the show. Thanks to Alon for producing. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you on Monday.